Kraken is being extorted by some criminals to release some internal videos, or at least that's what they're being threatened with, and they're refusing to release the Kraken. I've been sitting on that joke for a while. Welcome to Cryptocurrents, the weekly podcast of people working in crypto and blockchain talking about everything you need to know that's happening in the real world of crypto, blockchain, and fintechs. No FOMO, no shilling, just everything you need to be smarter each and every week. I'm your host, Vince, and today I'm joined by our resident degen, Kale.
What's up?
And Katya.
Hey.
And I wanted you to think of us like the reverse tax day, which, happy tax day, everyone. We're coming at you every week and we're only giving you good stuff. But we'll talk about the Kraken drama here in a second. I want to talk first and foremost about this fake ledger app. So a fake ledger app somehow made its way onto the App Store and successfully drained nearly $10 million in crypto before it was discovered and removed. Talk to me about this, Kale.
Dude, it's 2026. I don't how is this still happening? This is such bad PR for our industry.
Yeah.
I feel like it just makes everything. It's just such a bad look because it's like there's people like me who have been trying to, for lack of better words, convince my peers of the utility of blockchain and crypto and blah, blah, blah. And then they see things like this happen every other month. It's something gets hacked. And for it to happen for a company as big as Ledger is just a really bad look. Apparently the app only had 11 ratings.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so it's
it had 2 Ds in it.
Well, so that tweet that I sent you guys actually ended up being not real. It was a troll, I think. Because for the listeners, I sent Katya and Vince a tweet. So apparently I saw a tweet that said the Ledger Live app that people fell for was had all kind of random letters, Russian letters in it that made it look really obvious. Turns out that guy was just trolling. Yeah. And the actual one looked a lot more official. But I mean the only things that really gave it away is the 11 ratings, and then when you look up Ledger, more than one Ledger Live app would have appeared.
Yeah.
So other than that, it's it's scary, because I have a Ledger. It could have been me.
But I think the thing that should have given it away, albeit not at download, at the point of download, but at the point of usage, is that apparently it asked users to enter their Ledger phrase, which a real hard wallet interface will never do. You connect it and it does the thing inside. That's the whole point of the hardware wallet.
It's the technical term. It does the thing inside.
You know what I mean? It's all in the little...
The magic in the magic
gadget,
box.
Right? It's inside the gadget. That's the point of the hardware wallet, that it does all of that inside the little gadget. So I think even if you downloaded the wrong application, as soon as it said enter your phrase, it should, be a red flag. I guess if you're a completely new user, then it wouldn't be for you if it's the first time using a Ledger Live or any kind of hardware wallet interface.
Yeah, I was just talking to my mom last night about Rocket Money. She was talking about downloading it, and I was explaining to her that the biggest risk in doing stuff, because she was asking is it safe to put your bank information into Rocket Money, and I was yeah, probably. The biggest risk is downloading the wrong Rocket Money, which is exactly what happened here.
Yeah. So all of this I think is really interesting because it shows a lot of cracks in our technological society. And I'll go through some of the things that are interesting to me. So the 11 reviews, of course, is a problem that you as a tech-savvy user should flag and notice. I mean, that seems low. At the same time, we're seeing all of these stores changing the number of reviews you see to be based on your device, which I feel can make you see less reviews for an app because you're only 12 people have an iPhone 12 or whatever. So that's something that I'm that's probably pretty problematic. I think it's also problematic on every single app store that stuff like this is constantly happening. I just had to work with our security team this morning to remove a fake app. And you would think that Apple and Google would be like, wait a second, this has the same name as something else. Our
Yeah,
AI is going to
yeah.
flag this and make us do a manual review. But that's kind of not the case whatsoever, which is like bonkers to me. And
Yeah,
also, go ahead.
sorry I interrupted you, but
No,
I
no,
was
no.
thinking earlier that when Kale said like it's a bad look for a big company like Ledger, I was thinking like it's a bad look for a big company like Apple that,
That too.
that this made it through there, because especially Apple Store is supposedly known for the very, very intensive checks and diligence. And we have always, even ourselves, because we have an Android app and an iOS app, even ourselves, we have experienced and compared the two stores favorably in favor of Apple, that Apple is more diligent and that users are more likely to get phished with a fake app on Google Play. But apparently, that's not necessarily always the case. So I think it does make me think about why, crypto apps are probably much more targeted than like banking apps or regular payment apps. And probably the reason is that it's easier to get away with it because of the non custodial aspect of it, that you can transfer, and it may trigger less obstacles than a regular bank that may start calling you, or calling the real user, or et cetera. So that's probably why, and we hear about it more. But like you said about your mom, I'm sure this goes on with regular payment apps as well all the time. Maybe we just hear about it less on our end.
Yeah. And I just wonder, like, is there more of a review that Apple and Google do for larger companies? Not that Ledger is a small company, but I wonder if it's just like, whatever, let them do their thing. Like, could I make a fake Wendy's app and you log into the Wendy's app and it's like, give me your credit card information. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
I wonder, like, how does this happen? Like, are there like attackers and then they upload the app as Ledger Live, or is it like they upload it as some other app that doesn't get flagged and then they change the name later on? Like, I
Changing the
wonder what the
name
process is.
changing the name triggers a review. Like all of that, like allegedly,
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. And like some of these like developer names, like the developer companies on Apple on these fake apps is like crazy. It's like just gibberish or like, nothing related to the name of the app. It's crazy.
dude, you know what I bet is happening? And actually, like, take this with a grain of salt. It's actually probably not happening.
Do I need my
But,
tinfoil hat? Do I need my
but,
tinfoil hat?
but, dude, I bet you there's infiltrated or compromised employees.
Oh,
Like, there's
For
probably Apple
sure.
employees like getting paid
absolutely.
money to like get these apps through, and then they take a cut or something along
In
those
fact,
lines,
it's usually compromised people, like
right?
employees
Like,
or
because
right.
how do you do this? Like, how do you just get an app approved on Apple? It seems
Well, and then
impossible.
I'm also like, I also wonder how these users found this fake app. Like, was there a fake website? Did they think they were on the
Yeah,
Ledger
yeah, yeah.
website and it directed them to this fake thing? Like, I just have so many questions and the other thing that when I was on my soapbox, I didn't really get a fault was like the Ledger brand management team should have caught this because it was up for weeks,
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Right, because you get alerts about all this stuff.
Oh, dude, someone
Yeah,
cannot mention our brand without like me hearing
yeah.
about it. Like, so I don't know. I just feel like there's so many people at fault, and it's just a bummer that there are no actual people that are doing their job to protect users.
Right, because I'm sure the first time someone got phished with this, they probably wrote into Ledger support,
Yeah,
I'm sure. Yeah.
right?
Good
And
point.
so, like, yeah, you would think that this would have been caught much
yeah.
earlier.
I don't know. But let's pivot away from this and let's talk about the SEC, our favorite government institution that is giving guidance finally on self-custody crypto interfaces, which is pretty rad for us. So this is for the uninitiated a problem that every kind of like self-custody wallet has always faced is you try and advertise, you try and list, you try and do anything. Companies like Meta or Google will be like, hey, where's your license? You're a broker dealer, or you need a FinCEN license or a money lender license. And, self custody wallets are like, well, we that's not us. We don't take custody of this. We don't like do anything on behalf of the user. And this guidance like really kind of highlighted like this should not apply to crypto wallets because they don't do any of this stuff. Katya, you've had to deal with this longer than I have. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so for a little bit more context, there has been a lot of progress lately in crypto with regulation and with the SEC engaging with and understanding crypto and all of that stuff. But the truth is that most of that goes on around centralized crypto services, like centralized exchanges, the big Coinbases and Robinhoods and Binances and all of that. And I guess understandably so, because those services are much more like the traditional financial services. So they're easier to kind of grasp what it is they do. And the self-custody, the decentralized, truly decentralized finance part of crypto is the actually new and unprecedented in finance product. So it's harder to understand and harder to deal with. And the SEC and other regulatory bodies have sort of kind of stayed away from it because they weren't sure what to do with this animal. And the waters, even as they began clearing for the centralized crypto services, have been staying murky for the self-custody services. And this is a nice step in that direction. And the thing is that that many people don't understand with self-custody wallets and front ends, DeFi front ends interfaces, is that this service does not hold any of your assets ever, does not control any of your assets ever, cannot block your transactions or make transactions without you like centralized services can, because it's always based on just your key and you're the only one who can sign that transaction. So all of that means that, even sometimes like when there's reporting required of these like services and a government body or something is going to come and say, we need information about this. These self-custody services don't have that information because they're not collecting any. So it's a very unique case. So this is not a rule or regulation, but a guidance. But it's set to remain in effect for 5 years, pending any kind of changes. So this is already like a pretty big, exciting step for services that are non-custodial. And so the conditions are as follows. I'm going to read them because I didn't memorize it. Does not take custody of user funds, provides no investment advice, does not execute or route orders on users' behalf, so transactions, exercises no discretion over transactions or market activity, which means basically it can't block activity if it decides to, that it doesn't want it, which all applies to every self-custody wallet. Mm-hmm. And to many DeFi interfaces like decentralized exchanges and things like that. Not all, but many. Yeah. So that's really exciting for the industry. Exciting for us as MyEtherWallet if this indeed holds and goes forward. And it's really it gives projects that have been sort of in this murky, confusing area freedom to continue to build and innovate without being concerned that any day now they're going to have to get a broker-dealer license to do anything at all anymore,
My favorite part of those conditions are doesn't offer financial advice. I'm like, what a financial app does offer financial advice? None of them do. Like everyone's like, no financial advice. Do what you want.
Or it's papered with disclaimers all over the place. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is a little redundant, but I get why you have to say that.
Apparently, like even when you swap within a non-custodial wallet and then you have like different swap providers, like if the wallet is like suggesting this is the best provider,
yes,
or
you're
like
not
this
allowed
is the preferred
to say
provider.
Best or preferred. Yeah, that's another one. So some providers probably do that. So that's one thing, but it's an easy fix. You just stop doing that and that's it.
Here, choose your destiny. How about this?
Yeah. It's all up to you.
Yeah.
It's not advice.
What are your thoughts on this, Gail?
I mean, it's all pretty high level for me, honestly. But like what piqued my curiosity is that, Katya, you said that this was like a new guidance and not rules.
Yeah.
Do we know the difference and like when rules come into play? Or like do we know the process?
Who knows?
We know, does the SEC? Doubtful.
Probably not.
Yeah, true that, dude. Yeah, they don't even know. Because, I mean, it feels like all of those words matter, right? Like because if this is just guidance, like, what does that mean? It's like, is there going to be a finalized rule? And if there is going to be a finalized thing, like, do we not even have to follow these rules? Like, I don't know, but directionally, it is a step in the right direction, it feels like.
Yeah. And I do think it kind of like, because Katya really underscored a great point that a lot of the conversation around regulation is around centralized exchanges. And it is nice when we see the self-custody part rear its redheaded stepchild head to be like, I'm here too. Um, and we're like, okay, it makes me feel better about the people that are working towards finding these solutions because they're not just trying to be like, well, how do we do this for Coinbase? They're like, how do we do this for all of crypto?
And crucially, to me, this kind of recognizes DeFi and self-custody as a legitimate kind of subsection of crypto. So it's not just saying this will not exist. It's too hard. We're not going to deal with it, so it has no right to exist. We're just going to do. This is saying we understand that this is different. We want to recognize that it's different. We want to work towards a different set of rules for this subsection. So I think even that legitimization is nice because for a while there, I really thought that the self-custody subsection of crypto would just get bulldozed over and kind of forced underground, perhaps. And, the innovation there would be moot, which would be a horrible thing because it is the DeFi innovation that drove all the changes that have now migrated to centralized crypto and to TradFi. It came to life, stablecoins and all of that, because of the innovation in the DeFi and self-custody space. So,
well, yeah, you really set me up for a nice segue here. Okay, let's move on to our next story then and talk about how TradFi is coming to crypto in the form of on-chain voting. And so this is related to tokenized equities, tokenized stocks. Galaxy is set to have the first on-chain vote. I don't remember the date off the top of my head.
I don't even know the date May, but I don't know the date.
Yeah. But so in traditional finance of ownership of stocks and equities, users are able to vote based off their shares to help steer the company. And so this is bringing that in essence to tokenized equities, where previously with tokenized equities, you couldn't do that. You couldn't do on-chain voting. You kind of gave up that right, I believe, to the issuer of whatever on-chain asset you're holding. Kale, talk to me about voting. And talk to me about this in general. Like,
Well, so to be completely honest, is all I'm going to say on this. Some people are going to hate me. I've never voted in any election.
What about a DAO? Have you voted in a DAO? Have you voted in a
I've
shareholder?
actually, yeah. So I
That's
participated in.
what I was talking. I wasn't actually asking about your political voting. I was talking
No,
about
I
your
know,
voting
I
related
know,
to money.
I know what you're getting at, but like
You just want to throw that out there for the haters.
my thing with this is like so like the reason why I've been so turned off to like voting in the outside world is because it feels like it can be manipulated, right, by like all types of factors. And so I just decided to opt out. But like things like this make it much more transparent, and what I'm excited for, what this excites me for, is to like bring more types of voting on chain. So like this is cool to see like TradFi coming on chain to make decisions about their business and stuff. But yeah, I'm really excited to see how this evolves and like what other things we can decide on chain, like beyond profits and business and stuff.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing about this is that it's its own like Avalanche L1, if I understand correctly. So like when Avalanche first dropped, like Avalanche was the L1, and then Avalanche, you could like create subnets on Avalanche, which acted as like kind of like L2s on Ethereum, and kind of like how Polkadot had parachains. But apparently now Avalanche, the way they frame it is like you build your own L1 off of Avalanche. So apparently that's what these guys are doing. It's going to be like a TradFi L1, and they can like do all their on-chain voting on it. So it's cool to see.
Yeah. Katia, what are your thoughts?
Well, so this is kind of cool because tokenized stocks have been taking off and there's trade-offs, right? Some things that you can do with regular stock, and voting is one of them. You can't really do as a holder of tokenized stock. There are other trade-offs that tokenized stock have that regular stock doesn't, like the fact that you can do it on chain, the 24/5 or maybe even 24/7, like a lot of things that, but there are these trade-offs which can possibly influence the adoption of tokenized stock, like how people see it. This is interesting to me because if this works and it starts being adopted, then maybe there will be, you know, maybe eventually tokenized stock will be all upside. There will be no trade-off. Like you will get everything that regular stock holding gives you plus
Yeah.
all this, stuff that on-chain trading gives you with tokenized
Yeah.
stock and using it as collateral for other things, all of that stuff. So I think that can be a potentially big needle mover for tokenized stock if that happens, because then it's all advantages really, and no drawbacks, right?
Yeah.
To that. And the other thing that is interesting to me about this is that, we've had DAOs in the blockchain space for a long time, and they've
Yeah.
kind of become a joke over time. Very little, if any, useful governance has come out of DAOs, although I'm not a participant in any DAO, so I may not know about
Yeah.
the great things about it. And there's been a lot of talk about using on-chain voting, even for political purposes, for better accountability, access, and all of that. And none of that has come to pass so far. Most of the kind of more social public goods uses of blockchain have not come to pass. But as in everything, usually things like the new tech things succeed where money is being made, like VHS and porn famously and all of that stuff. Like they make forward leaps where there's a lot of money in there, and then they get into other aspects of society. So I'm thinking if on-chain voting succeeds for tokenized stock purposes and becomes a commonplace thing, then maybe then we will be like, okay, this works. People like it. People participate. We can do actual, political voting and other kinds of democratic processes through this. So I think that could be this is just a very first baby step, even if it works, but that could be the outcome.
Yeah. No, I mean, you kind of convinced me, that bringing this on parity with TradFi is important at the end of the day. It needs to have none of the drawbacks and only upside. Because I was like, this doesn't move the needle at all. I own a bunch of different stocks and I've never voted once. I'd rather fight a bear with my bare hands than vote in a DAO vote. Like, shoot me. But you're right. We do need to have all of their strengths, none of their weaknesses, to kind of really see adoption. So I guess that's a good thing. But it's like nothing for me to get excited about.
Well, I can tell you that like you and I and Kale probably too would also rather fight a bear than participate in any HOA activities. But I have
Sure.
seen with my own eyes people who are so into it, it is ungodly how they're into it. So
Crazy.
I'm sure that there are people who feel strongly about their vote when they
Yeah,
hold
those
stock.
guys, the HOA people are the same ones that run the DAO node validators. 100%.
I mean, they're like, yeah, it's a 3-letter acronym. That's what I'm all about.
Yo.
All right, let's round this out and talk about Kraken. Kale, read me in on the Kraken.
Oh, dude, so remember in 2024 when Coinbase had a bunch of their user data leaked?
Yep.
This is similar. So apparently Kraken is being extorted right now by like a group of criminals who claim that they have a bunch of internal data from Kraken. And I'm pretty sure, like, I haven't seen anything at least, but I'm pretty sure, like, the data hasn't been leaked yet. They're just, like, the people are just threatening Kraken. And it's supposedly they're internal videos. So from what I've read, like, it sounds like so I know for sure it used to be support. Kraken figured that out. It was like, they figured out, like, these people used to work for us as support. And from what I've gathered, it's like, I'm pretty sure these people were, like, just taking videos of, like, sensitive information on a screen. So that's what Kraken's being extorted with. And it feels like very sloppy on the criminal side because it's like Kraken, like if they had anything of value, like Kraken probably would have bent the knee.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like at least. But Kraken is kind of just like they're standing their ground. They're saying like, no, we're not gonna give you what you want in any means. And yeah, it's kind of it's at, I think it's like at a standstill at the moment, but yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
I
see
think
what
it's
happens.
funny because like we're also seeing this with Rockstar Games, where a hacker group was like, "We hacked Rockstar and we'll release sensitive information," and then Rockstar said, "Go ahead," and they're like, "Look, we know how much money GTA 5 is making in the
Yeah,
online,"
like
and everyone's like, "Who cares? Like, what are you trying to extort us for that? That's in the public filings."
yeah, that's like kind of where we're at right now. Apparently, like they threatened Kraken, and Kraken was like, "All right, bro," and then like, no, I don't know like where we're at after that, but I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
nothing's been leaked, so it's probably not like anything of value.
Yeah, and I mean, part of me thinks that if it was a value, you could just extort, like actually be like, "Oh, I have this person's password. I'm going to go in and steal all their crypto anyways."
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I agree. I wonder what it is. Kate, what are your thoughts on this?
So this is actually kind of this and the Coinbase league that Kale mentioned, which was basically the same thing that happened to Kraken. Support. This brings us back to the Ledger thing and the Apple Store in terms of these are just people who were bribed to provide information. I think they did it while they were still working there, and then they were terminated upon the investigation revealing who they were. And I guess they took, support. First of all, what I'm thinking is like for any service, support ask users for passwords or for keys or for anything like that. They may have in centralized services access to their like balances and stuff, but they can't or are not allowed to move users' funds instead of them. Although I don't know how centralized services really work. I know this from the self-custody side. Like our support cannot do anything with the user's assets, even
Yep.
if they even if the user's like, please fix this for me, we can't because we don't have access. But I think all they have is basically this sort of thing. So what they could get, I mean, this is also not nothing. This is not unserious. Like they could get emails or
Socials.
the socials, yeah, of users. And then that opens the door to social engineered phishing of these users. So of course, that's also serious. But I think Kraken was like, a small number was affected, 2,000, which you're like 2,000, but Kraken's usership is like insane. So this
Yep.
is like 0.02% of their usership. And so they caught it well and caught it early. But yeah, this is a point that I have grown gray over my 8 years in crypto, a point that I have been, making that 99% of the crypto losses and hacks are engineering, and they're not hacks. Like nobody is
Oh,
breaking
social
into the
engineering.
yeah. Like they're not hacks. Nobody's breaking into these wallets because at least until quantum, the cryptography holds. These are well-made systems for the encryption. But the human factor is the human factor. People are the same. So all of these losses and all of these compromised things that we've been talking about were bribed humans on the provider side and flawed humans on the consumer side who, like all of us, don't always pay attention or are not, really reading the fine print or are not being very careful with their passwords or their keys. So it's just kind of like, I think the crypto space kind of just really brings it to the surface because of this kind of Wild West aspect of it. But it's nothing new under the sun. It's just people being, people being people.
Yeah. No, you're correct. I I think it's also interesting because I know Kraken said they're going to delay their IPO given market conditions, if I recall. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this could have been poorly timed that they not delayed it. But I also am like,
I just read a
good.
tweet like after this security thing that they like stealthily IPO'd actually.
Oh,
What?
maybe they refiled. They're like, oh, market's back. Let's go. I don't know. I'll have to look into
Yeah,
that.
yeah, no, I need to look into it. I don't know if I might have been imagining things.
Yeah. Well, you know what you weren't imagining, though, dear listener? How good this show was. It was a good show. Thanks for joining me, guys. Thanks for listening, dear listener. And we hope you enjoy this and feel smarter about crypto because you should. And on that note, make sure you leave us a 5-star review, follow us on Twitter, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
But
Bye. Bye.
Bye.